Right now, stories of police under fire. Troopers dodge a storm of automatic gunfire on a Texas highway.
There was a very real possibility of not making it out of the squad car alive.
An Alabama cop comes under heavy fire from escaping car thieves.
Put the first round in the windshield.
And Tennessee officers take on a desperate bank robber.
The suspect was shooting at me while I was on the ground.
November 4th, 2004, Richardson, Texas. 3 heavily armed suspects rob a bank and make a high-speed getaway in a red Chevy Blazer. Officers Brown and Moore are the first to respond, with Officers Skinner and Melly waiting nearby to join the chase. But this was one band of bank robbers that wouldn't go quietly.
Suspect vehicle was north on 75.
I had really just pulled in the station parking lot when I heard the bank robbery come out over the radio.
We have shots fired, or what is the information on the Blazer?
Several other officers also started in that direction.
55, taking Flannel Parkway.
I happened to be right there.
Brown sees this, realizes which vehicle it was, hits his lights.
I looked down and saw that vehicle backing up on that ramp.
God damn!
They fired an automatic rifle. One suspect climbed out of the passenger side window and was leaning out the window, shooting at Officer Brown, and another one was shooting out the back window of the Suburban that we're in. I thought Officer Brown had been shot.
Glass fragments peppered my forearm. There was a very real possibility of not making it out of the squad car alive.
These guys are just gonna blatantly try to murder a police officer, a friend of mine.
That's what made me angry, was the fact that my car was disabled and I was out of the pursuit.
As the suspects drove away, I pulled up next to Officer Brown's vehicle after crossing the grass median.
You okay, Brown? You okay? Yeah, go, go, go! Get that son of a bitch!
They're getting away. So I began to accelerate, trying to catch up with the red SUV. I noticed them shooting at another officer, Officer Kermes, and then back at me. So I got on to Flannel Parkway to go eastbound. I observed they had now driven into the westbound lanes, and we're traveling eastbound in the westbound lanes. I didn't have much opportunity to do anything more than just try to describe which direction they were going, what turns they were making. After that, there was a lot of confusion on the radio. As we came to an intersection, a bunch of citizens had got out of their cars and were actually pointing us in the right direction where the suspects had gone.
So we all turned north.
We drove into the business district, several roads leading into there.
Y'all see the red Suburban, all the doors are open and it stopped.
I got the vehicle. Everybody else head out. I got the vehicle.
Got it. Stuart Stewart with the vehicle as well. You guys be careful, man. That is automatic weapon fire.
Hijacked the vehicle on the summit.
Out of my corner of my eye, I also see a white pickup truck, and it's accelerating in reverse. And everything about it, the situation tells me they're in that white truck. So I stop. So they stop. Because there's enough distance here, I'm just playing the waiting game. I'm just going to wait and see what they're going to do. They took off. So I took off.
I got back in my car. They were now in a white pickup.
They get up to the light at Summit in Jupiter, ran a red light, and he just goes straight on through and T-bones a green car.
The accident was pretty violent.
The wrecked car had spun all the way across the intersection. The pickup truck had veered after he struck it a little bit to the right and hit the telephone pole. I reached for my shotgun, probably could have taken a shot, but I see all these people behind him, so there's just no way. He fired about 6 rounds at me. A round went right through the windshield, struck the rearview mirror, and fragmented. And 2 of those fragments went into the headrest.
As I'm coming up to the intersection where the pickup truck had wrecked, Officer Skinner's behind his car.
There were too many citizens around to take any shots at that. I moved over closer to the parking lot. They were attempting to carjack the car. I came under fire.
Felt very outgunned.
Shot my car up also, 725.
We got into my vehicle.
Southbound on the southeast corner. Gray sweatshirt on one of them. We're playing on around. We need help.
We drove around for 10 or 15 minutes.
A little bit of fear and quite a bit of anger.
They fired nearly 300 rounds. I shot 5 Richardson police cars and 1 Plano police car. They had gotten away.
The officers' lengthy chase resulted in the robbers' eventual capture. The bandits were responsible for over 60 armed robberies in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Up next, an Alabama police officer risks his life to take on 2 heavily armed car thieves.
If they moved, if they popped their head up, if they kicked the door open, I shot at them.
And later, a Tennessee bank robber turns a quiet corner into chaos.
If I would have been one of those people that says, oh gosh, I'm shot, I gotta get down, then I would have made it.
June 23, 2005, Mobile, Alabama. 2 burglars steal a car and make a high-speed getaway through suburban streets. Officer John Angle takes the burglars head-on and finds himself in a hail of bullets.
I had pulled over to a park to complete some paperwork that I had from a couple calls before.
Possible 54 in progress.
There was a burglary in progress to a residence on Stockton Drive off of Dolphin Island Parkway.
2059 Stockton Drive between Horton Drive and Oakwood Road West.
The caller gave information that the suspects were possibly armed.
Possibly armed with guns.
And they were possibly occupying a blue Buick Roadmaster.
Possibly stolen vehicle.
I stood by there at Highway 90 and I-65 waiting to see if they got off on Highway 90 or if they continued northbound.
Northbound 65 approaching government at this time.
And they had already passed my location, continuing northbound. That's when I got on the interstate. That's when I activated my camera. I got a visual on them just before we got up to Highway 45. They pulled up to a red light. I came in behind them. I had to continue around the lights of siren or I would never caught up with them. By doing that, I alerted them that I was coming, and that's not something you really want to do. Now we're starting to travel in the streets that a lot of the officers that I work with are not familiar with. Started on pursuing them through that neighborhood. They started swerving in a manner that looked like they were either getting ready to bail out of the car and take off running. I could see some erratic movement inside the car real quick. All of a sudden the car took off. Again, pursuing behind them again. Came up behind them and put the first round through my windshield.
Shot fired.
I returned fire immediately. The only hesitation I had from the time that round came through my windshield to the time I returned fire is how quick I can get my gun out of holster. Training kicks in, and you may still be thinking about what's going on, but then before you realize I need to shoot, your gun's already out of the holster, pointing at them. They were driving again in a swerving manner when the passenger was actually doing the driving, was steering the vehicle while the driver was turning around to engage me again. And as he was preparing to engage me, they made a left-hand turn, and I engaged him. Shot twice toward the driver's door. As I made that turn, it looked like he shot about twice toward my driver's door. As I pulled him behind them, we engaged again where they were shooting rounds directly through the back glass. I was returning around directly through my front windshield back at them. With the distance we were looking at and the report that I was getting from the muzzle, I knew that I was dealing with an assault rifle of some sort. Gave him a little bit more distance when I realized what I was working with. The whole time to give him some distance, the speeds have increased up to 90, 95 miles an hour. Traveled down that bumpy road for a little ways, and he swerved into the ditch. I didn't know why he went in the ditch, and I felt like it was some kind of a tactical move on their part that they had planned. So I kind of went back on the defensive. I gave him command, throw down a weapon, show me your hand.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands, motherfucker!
I was pacing myself at 1 to 2 round bursts because I knew that I was down to my last magazine. And at this point, I had them pinned down. If they moved, if they popped their head up, if they kicked the door open, I shot at them.
Show me your hands! Show me your goddamn hands!
And shortly after that, the passenger showed signs that he was attempting to surrender, at which time I allowed him to surrender.
Throw your hands up!
The driver, who was injured at this point, he began waving his hands out of the passenger side door, showing signs that he wanted to surrender. When it was all over with, I realized what I'd been through and how close I'd come to being injured. Other people have asked me the question, at what point do you separate your duty to the department and to the citizens of Mobile to the duty you have to your family? Every officer has their own line they got to cross. Everybody has their own bar that they got to set for themselves. I felt like it was still a winnable situation, so I stayed in it.
Both suspects were charged with attempted murder and robbery. For laying his life on the line and taking heavy fire, Officer John Angle was given a Medal of Honor and recognized by the President of the United States. Up next, a Tennessee bank robbery turns into a dangerous daytime shootout.
Get these ambulance up here right now! We got an officer down!
And later, a traffic stop turns deadly on a Georgia highway. May 6, 2002, Brentwood, Tennessee. Gary Thomas Brown robs a bank with an M16 assault rifle and turns a local corner into chaos. Sergeant Tommy Walsh, Officer Stephanie Warner, and Detective Richard Hickey respond to the 911 call.
Quarters to 60, 62, 65, armed robbery in progress.
That day was just like any other. I was in the office when the call went out that we had had a robbery at the Bank of America on Franklin Road.
133 Franklin Road at Bank of America. We got an armed robbery in progress.
And I was literally a mile away, if that much. So I headed that way.
Did you get back out on Franklin Road or did you come on Hartford Drive?
Individual came out and flagged me down at a gas station that was across the street from the bank. The guy went this way and pointed north. As I pulled out of the parking lot and traveled north, I was approaching a very busy intersection. I went to change the siren tone with my right hand and leaned up both ways to see if there was any traffic coming. And at that point, when I leaned forward a little bit, the suspect shot through the passenger window and just riddled my seat with bullets. And at that point, I was shot in the arm, but I didn't realize it.
I said he's got an assault rifle.
As I was responding to the scene, I heard Officer Stephanie Warner.
He's got a all state. He's got all things behind it.
I could tell that she was involved in a gunfight with the suspect. My focus was to find Stephanie and to help her.
My car was still in drive. Thank goodness I didn't take the time to put it in park. So I jumped out of the car, and at that point he had ran to my rear tail lights and was shooting at me while I was on the ground. The car was slowly moving forward, and he was shooting at me and I was shooting at him. He eventually stopped and continued to shoot, but I went with the car. Because I had been shot, I was weak-handed shooting back at him, and when you shoot a firearm weak-handed, it often jams. I had to quickly reload, and by the time I had reloaded, his focus had turned off of me. If I would have been one of those people that says, oh gosh, I'm shot, I gotta get down, then I would have made it. He would have had me.
Of course, I'd heard the radio traffic from Officer Warner, and I was trying to locate her. I was on Franklin Road, which is the 5-lane highway, and there would usually be a huge amount of traffic, but was virtually empty of vehicles. The last thing that I heard her say was that she was in the parking lot of Walgreens.
He's walking in Walgreens Parkway.
She was trying to tell us that the suspect was in the parking lot of Walgreens. I thought she was in the parking lot and she was down, so that's where I went to. When I pulled up and stopped and got out of my car, I encountered the suspect, and he was probably 30 feet away from me. All I remember really seeing was the rifle that he was holding. As he turned towards me, I drew my weapon and I managed to fire at him first. He returned fire.
60, 10-4 shots fired.
When I heard the call go out, I was in the office. I grabbed my car keys and I told my lieutenant what was going on. We ran out the back door. When I was pulling up in the area, I still couldn't see anybody or see what was going on, but I could hear like a metal on metal sound, and I remember initially thinking somebody probably had a wreck.
What I believe was his first shot went through the door of my patrol car. and struck me just above my left knee.
I can remember looking over at that patrol car and didn't immediately recognize whose car it was. Later found out it was one of my good friends, Tommy Walsh.
Where's that headquarters? Get me there. Let's up here right now. We got an officer down.
I pulled myself across the console of my car.
I could see just his feet sticking out of the car.
At that point, I heard the suspect. He was yelling to come and get him. There were actually 2 officers in front, 2 behind, when the suspect was at the door, and all of them were shooting at the suspect.
We opened fire, and the suspect was hit 6 or 7 times, I think.
No, we got a suspect been injured.
I remember virtually everything that happened up until the point where I was injured and I knew the suspect was down.
I got to the car when Sergeant Walsh was down. He was laying in his car, and he was just very white. We were both transported to Vanderbilt, and we were laying on the tables right beside each other, and I was able to look over at him, and we were able to communicate, and so I was a little bit more at ease, I'm sure, about him than others were.
Most police officers get to go through their career and never have to do that, so I'm hoping that was my one time.
You just don't ever know when something like this could happen.
Bank robber Gary Thomas Brown didn't survive the shootout. For their courageous sacrifices, Sergeant Tommy Walsh and Officer Stephanie Warner earned Purple Hearts. Up next, a desperate man turns a routine traffic stop into a life-or-death standoff.
This was serious. He wanted a gunfight.
November 15th, 2005, Woodbine, Georgia. Deputy Sheriff Greg Koffels' morning patrol takes an unusual twist as a day of routine traffic stops brings him face to face with the barrel of a rifle.
I was on a traffic stop at exit 14 on Interstate 95 northbound. A bypasser pulled up behind me and said that she just wanted to alert me of a small red pickup that she'd been following since she come into Georgia. She believed that he was under the influence of alcohol or something.
Pull over. Pull your truck to the side of the road.
About 4 miles, I caught up to a red Nissan pickup, and right off the bat, I knew that that was the one she was talking about because he was driving half in the emergency lane and half in the right lane.
You better stop. You better stop.
I said to myself, I need to go ahead and stop this guy before he hurts somebody.
Pull your truck to the side of the road.
He refused to stop. He went back across all 3 lanes to the right lane again.
Pull over.
As I talked to him on the PA, telling him to pull over.
Pull your truck over, or I will push you. Pull your truck over.
That's when I saw the gun barrel.
Hey, you got something in your hand. I'm not sure have a gun. We're passing the 23.
We made it all the way to the 23-mile marker.
10-4 past the 23.5.
And he pulled over. I treated the stop as a felony stop since I knew that he did have a weapon. He refused to obey my orders.
Get on the ground! You get on the ground!
And he took off again. I was back in chase. We went about a half a mile. I got back in behind the subject. He pulled over again. When I saw him exit the vehicle with the gun in his hand, I knew that this was serious. He wanted a gunfight. And I shot twice. I did miss, and I made my way to the back of my patrol car on my knees and elbows. As I made eye contact with him, he was approaching me towards the passenger side of my vehicle. I didn't want to pick my head up and look through the window. I was scared that he would shoot through the car, and I knew that the kind of gun that he had would have gone right through that car. When I was on my hands and knees behind my car, wanting somebody to get to me, I just didn't feel like that I was going to be able to stop the situation. It went through my mind that he didn't want to be stopped, that he wasn't going to stop. He wasn't going to jail for whatever he had done. I told myself, I said, if I don't stop him now, then that's it. I'm dead. Is this going to be my day? Am I going to be able to go home to my family, or is this my day to go? I fired 3 more shots. I saw all 3 shots hit him. My body just reacted. I didn't think about it. I just did what I had to do to protect myself. Maybe that's what he wanted. Maybe he didn't want to live anymore. I just hated that it was me that had to fulfill what he wanted. Fear is what keeps you alive. Being scared is what keeps you alive. As soon as you get comfortable in this job, something bad's going to happen.
Deputy Koffel never learned why the man acted so violently. For his bravery in the field, Koffel received the prestigious Georgia Officer of the Year award.